Welcome to the program, Global Weekly News, serial number 135. First, Palestinians return to northern Gaza. Despite Israel's 15 months of genocidal aggression, mass destruction and displacement, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians began to return to their devastated home cities and towns in the northern Gaza Strip on 27th January. The mass return of Palestinians to the north on foot is seen as a major victory and step towards reclaiming all occupied territories. Israel's security minister Ben-Gvir has described the return as a setback for Israel and complete opposite of Netanyahu's promise of total victory. The return represents Israel's failure to ethnically cleanse Gaza. On 25th January, US President Donald Trump revealed a controversial proposal to displace Palestinians from Gaza to other Arab countries, mainly Jordan and Egypt. Trump discussed the proposal with the Jordan King Abdullah II. Trump's proposal was condemned by Jordan, Egypt, the Palestinian presidency and resistance movements. Egyptian Foreign Ministry issued a statement stating that Palestinians have a legitimate right to their homeland. The spokesperson of the Palestinian presidency stated that the Palestinian people who suffered from the miseries of the 1948 and 1968 catastrophes will absolutely not accept these projects. For decades, Israel has sought to uproot Palestinians from their homeland, culminating in a genocide that lasted for over 15 months with full support from successive US administrations. Second, return of migrants to Colombia. Trump is very active in deportation of foreign migrants to their native countries. On 25th January, US sent a batch of Colombian migrants in its military plane with handcuffs and tying by their feet. However, Colombia's left president Gustavo Petro refused to receive the flights full of Colombian migrants if they were not treated with dignity. After several high-level talks between the secretaries of both nations, they announced that they had overcome the conflict. On 27th January, Colombia arranged for the 110 Colombians to return on a Colombian air force with full dignity. Latin American leaders must balance defending their migrants while also preparing for the immediate effects that deportations will have on local economies, especially the drastic reduction in remittances and a possible rapid increase in the job-seeking population. Third item, comrades. US media promotes military intervention in Venezuela. Under the leadership of Presidents Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro, the Venezuelans for 25 years have been successful in defending their sovereignty and self-determination against violent regime change efforts by the US and its allies. Despite US sanctions, Venezuela is experiencing among the highest GDP increases in the hemisphere. On 14th January, an article entitled "Depose Maduro" came out in New York Times. Basically, it argues that because the Venezuelans elected the wrong person, democracy has to be promoted by foreign military intervention. The US described Edmundo Gonzalez as Venezuela's rightful president. Gonzalez was defeated in the presidential elections in Venezuela. Further, the article resorts to fake news. Venezuela is a global hub for cocaine trafficking and money laundering. In fact, the US consumes almost all of the cocaine which is produced mainly in Colombia, and the money laundering takes place primarily in the United States. Fourth item, comrades. Strike against retrenchment in South Africa. Led by the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa, NUMSA, the workers in the Durban plant of Bidwest South Africa Containers Depot have been on strike for 20 days against termination notices in late December to 106 of the 187 employees at the company's Durban plant. The company informed that January 31st will be the last day of their work. The strike began from 6th January. The company said that restructuring was necessitated due to the significant downturn and loss of business activity as a direct result of intense market competition resulting in the underutilization of warehouse services. NUMSA has stated that the company's customers have increased. It simply wishes to rake in more profits, and if that means plunging 106 families into poverty. Amid an unemployment rate of 40% in South Africa, losing a job in South Africa, well, is devastating. The company is trying to replace permanent employees with outsourced ones to run away from paying pension fund and medical aid. The union had secured an order against outsourcing from the Constitutional Court in July 2018. The court very clearly outlined that company can use temporary employee services for a maximum period of 3 months only. After that, they should be treated as permanent employees with the same pay and benefits. However, many South African companies violate this brazenly. Fifth item, comrades, Palestine solidarity demonstration in Belgium. Over 13,000 people took to the streets of Brussels, capital of Belgium, on 26th January, demanding justice for Palestine and calling on Belgium to lead the European Union in holding Israel accountable for its genocide and war crimes in the Gaza Strip, as demonstrations in solidarity with Palestine continue in Europe. A coalition of organizations including human rights groups, trade unions and international solidarity networks stated Belgium should lead efforts for a full military embargo on Israel and urge European Union to suspend its association agreement with the occupying force. Protesters also insisted on the importance of supporting South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Sixth item, comrades, remembering Jose Marti. On 28th January, we remember the Cuban independence leader and writer Jose Marti. He was born on 28th January 1853 and died on 19th May 1895. Marti was Cuban poet, thinker and an important figure in the Cuban struggle for independence from Spain. Through his writings, he became a symbol of liberation and independence for all Latin Americans, reaching the heights of Simon Bolivar and Augusto Sandino. Marti coined the concept of Our America, a political, social, cultural and economic alternative to the America subjugated by US imperialism. Look at some important quotations from Jose Marti. First, rights are to be taken, not requested, seized, not begged for. Second, do not put me in the dark to die like a traitor. I am good, and like a good thing, I will die with my face to the sun. Seventh item, comrades, Sahel states exit ECOWAS. Economic Community of West African States is ECOWAS. On 28 January 2024, the military leaders of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger publicly declared their intention to withdraw from the regional economic bloc ECOWAS. The withdrawal took effect on 29th January 2025 as confirmed by ECOWAS. Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger formed the Alliance of Sahel States in September 2023. The alliance has strengthened economic cooperation among its members and has also positioned itself as a unified front against external threats. These governments, supported by popular uprisings, have expelled French military forces and sought to free their economies from French and Western influences. Celebrations took place in Sahel cities on the first anniversary of their historic decision to leave the ECOWAS. The alliance's charter signed on September 16, 2023, commits the three nations to prevent, manage, and resolve any armed rebellion or threat to territorial integrity and sovereignty. Prioritize peaceful and diplomatic channels while reserving the right to use force if necessary. The Sagal Alliance has announced the introduction of a Sagal-wide passport system. This will simplify travels between the three nations. The alliance has also prioritized regional security and will be creating a 5,000-strong joint military force to combat jihadist insurgencies. Niamey, the capital of Niger, has hosted an international conference against terrorism on 30th January, dedicated to discuss regional solutions to their joint fight against imperialist-backed terrorist groups. While the three nations face challenges, including sanctions and ongoing security threats, their collaboration seeks to build a path for regional integration rooted in sovereignty and common interests. 8th item, comrades, arrest warrants for top Taliban leaders. The Taliban retook power in Afghanistan in August 2021, ousting the US-backed administration of Ashraf Ghani. After 20 years, girls and women have been gradually deprived of the rights of freedom of education, work and movement, and face heavy restrictions in other aspects of their life ever since, including banning girls over 12 from attending school, preventing women from enrolling in universities, restricting women's employment opportunities, barring women from traveling without a male guardian, shutting down NGOs employing women. The ill treatment of women and deprivation of their rights has raised international concerns, with the United Nations repeatedly expressing regrets and disappointments over Taliban's deliberate discrimination and persecution of women. UN observed that Afghanistan is the only country in the world which explicitly bars girls and women from all levels of education. The Taliban tries to justify these policies by citing its peculiar interpretations of Islamic law, Sharia, but this cannot be justified. In 1998, Rome Statute was formed and came into effect from 1st July 2002. 124 countries are members of this statute. International Court of Justice can inquire and take up cases against genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity and ethnic cleansing. China, India, Israel, Russia, US have not yet ratified this statute. The Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, has filed 2 applications for arrest warrants against the top Taliban officials for their involvement in gender-based crimes against humanity in Afghanistan. The International Criminal Court also accuses Taliban officials of using imprisonment, murder, rape, torture and sexual violence to suppress resistance against their policies. Several human rights groups and opposition leaders from Afghanistan welcomed the ICC's move. Human Rights Watch called it historic, while Amnesty International called it an important step towards justice for Afghan women, girls and transgender persons. 9th item, comrades, European leaders distort the history of World War II. On 27th January 1945, soldiers of the Soviet Red Army liberated Auschwitz, the Nazi concentration camp where over 10 lakh people, overwhelmingly Jews, were murdered. 80 years later, European leaders gathered in Poland, now home to the Auschwitz Memorial, to reaffirm the commitment to ensuring such atrocities never happen again. Despite the USSR's vital role in defeating Nazi Germany and its allies at the cost of over 2 crore Soviet lives, there were no representatives of the Russian Federation at Auschwitz. In its pursuit of punishing Russia for the war in Ukraine, the European Union has virtually erased the Red Army's contributions from the narrative. The far-right parties such as Meloni's Brothers of Italy, France National Rally and Alternative for Germany party are using anti-communist trends to rewrite history. Just days before Holocaust Remembrance Day, the European Parliament adopted a resolution condemning Russia for exploiting the narrative of the liberation of Europe from Nazism. The text of the resolution also criticized the restoration of Lenin's monuments in Ukraine and called for a pan-European memorial for victims of the 20th century totalitarian regimes, a vocabulary that aims to equate fascism with communism. Despite an international criminal court warrant for arrest of Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister, he was invited to attend the Auschwitz commemoration. And Netanyahu did not attend. It is hypocrisy for the far-right European leaders for saying just such atrocities never again. Lastly, comrades, tax reductions for the rich in US. Trump's planned extension to his first administration's tax cuts to the wealthy could add trillions to the federal deficit. Republicans plan to pay for this off the backs of the working class. When combined, Donald Trump's tax proposals and tariffs would lead to a tax cut for the richest 5% of the people in the US and a tax increase for all other groups. Budget proposes to tax cuts to the tune of $52,200 crores. This could fund health care for 40 lakh families, college education for 20 lakh students, and housing assistance for 30 lakh families. Thank you, comrades. Salam. See you next week.